Also, a warm welcome to the people on the live stream, watching from home or from the office. We're thinking about you. Too bad you couldn't make it here. But I'm sure you're going to enjoy the presentation anyways. And that's not going to be difficult, because we will be talking about an interesting topic, the European Green Hydrogen Acceleration Center and their value chain approach to decarbonize hard-to-abate industries. From EIT InnoEnergy, please give a warm welcome to the Commercial Director of EGHAC, Carina Krastel.
Hi.
So, welcome to the stage here. So there's a lot to unpack in this talk, I think. We have a lot of abbreviations. We have EIT InnoEnergy. We already mentioned EGHAC. Let's start at the beginning. EIT InnoEnergy. What do you guys do?
Yeah, hello. Welcome, everybody. So, yeah, I'm Carina Krastel, Commercial Director of InnoEnergy. And at InnoEnergy, we're a renewable tech investor, widely recognized as one of the most active tech investors in the world. And what we do, we have several activities that we'll come to in a little bit. We are 230 people across Europe. So we have offices all over Europe, which is really helpful because we're a European company. And yeah, we invest in startups and produce products. But we can talk about that in a little bit.
Sure. And the name, there's EIT in there. That means there's some involvement from the European Union as well?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're a company co-founded by the European Union. We exist since 10 years. We've received grants from the European Union to invest in startups and innovation technologies. And yeah, now, let's say, there's been a ramp up from the European Union for grants, and now slowly we're becoming, let's say, a private company running on our own.
All right, bringing in the much needed money here in the industry. I love to hear it. So what type of activities should I be thinking about? What is it you do?
Yeah, so we have 4 key activities that we're doing. First activity is we invest in startups. That's, let's say, our core activity. And we have 230 startups in our portfolio today. Say throughout the 10 years that we exist now, we have screened, I think, 7,000 startups throughout the renewable energy space. So we're really active in a lot of different areas. So be it circular economy, be it renewable energy tech like PV or wind. It can also be industry-related, batteries, so really the whole space. So there we really invest. We act as an early-stage investor. So usually our ticket sizes are quite small, since we're early stage, but we take a lot of risk. Therefore, let's say, if there's companies out there that need an early-stage investor with a huge ecosystem in Europe, we're the go-to place. So that's the first activity we're doing, so investing in startups. The second activity is we help corporate companies to build, let's say, new businesses and innovation products in creating consortia and helping them really to define the product, finding the market fit, etc. So this is really more an industrial approach. So not so startups, but we work with established companies. The third activity that we're doing is we have, let's say, master programs. So that's a bit weird, you could say, because I mean we're a bit a wild animal in that sense, because we try to also here represent, let's say, the whole value chain of things. Because how do you create innovations if you don't have the innovators of tomorrow? So that's why we said we need to have master programs in order to build those innovators. And we have 16 master programs today throughout the renewable energy tech space as well, and also located in different European countries. So there, usually the idea is often to have a transversal approach. So you start, as if you're a master student in this program, you start in one country and then you go to the other country, and you really have, let's say, a European approach right from the start. And therefore we can create, let's say, the innovators of tomorrow in that renewable tech space, because they're European already from the start. They have also entrepreneurship programs, etc. So let's say that's our third activity. And then the fourth, and I think we'll talk about that in a bit in more detail, is we work on value chains. So why is that important? What we believe is if you don't look at the whole value chain of things, especially in Europe, you cannot really create long-term lasting innovations. Because if you just look at one brick in your, let's say, European view, you cannot build the whole, let's say, innovation space around it. And we want to create value for Europe. That's why we create these value chains. And we have 3 core activities today. One is PV, one is battery, and one is hydrogen. And we'll talk about hydrogen a bit. I just want to say 2 words on the battery and solar or PV space. what we believe here is that we have lost, and I think that we know quite a lot in the PV space. We've lost business. We've lost it to China. We can be really clear about that in Europe. I mean, we've created the business and then, let's say, it left. And that's why now we're standing for that we recreate and onshore that production in Europe. And we have created an alliance together with the Commission in order to build the value chain around PV here in Europe, build production units also. So we're investing also in companies there. And we do the same for batteries. The idea is always to work together with the Commission, finding a way how we can create those value chains and push them in Europe to create value here.
All right, so just to recap that, we have EIT InnoEnergy, and then within EIT InnoEnergy you focus on incubation, you focus on innovation projects with industry partners, then we have, I guess you could say, investing in human capital, right? The master programs, yet another form of investing. And then you have this focus on the entire integration of the value chain.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, perfect. And one of those vertical integrations is, you know, you already mentioned the PV and the batteries. We're here at Hydrogen Fuel Cells Europe. I think we'd love to hear about the hydrogen one. Yeah. And that is EGHAC, right? That is what we're here to discuss.
Exactly.
So, tell us.
Yeah. So EGHAC is short for the European Green Hydrogen Acceleration Center. It's not really perfect, the wording, I would say. But I mean, it says what we're doing. So we're accelerating the hydrogen world. And we are a value chain initiative. So we're focusing on really building out the value chain of hydrogen and hard-to-abate industries. And so when we started off, we were the European Green Hydrogen Acceleration Center, really large. And the more and more we learned about the market, the more we focused on the hard-to-abate industries, because that's where we believe we can have the biggest impact in reducing CO2 emissions. I mean, most of you probably know the Liebreich's, let's say, ladder, and you know that there's, let's say, applications that are more useful for hydrogen than others. So we said now we really have to focus on those where hydrogen is necessary in order to decarbonize because it cannot be electrified. And so at the Acceleration Center, we focus on those hard-to-abate industries. And what do? We have two main activities. One is project acceleration, and one is company building.
Okay, so project acceleration, company building, and just to make that clear, it's always green hydrogen.
Yeah, exactly.
It's always green.
Yeah, we focus on green because, I mean, I don't want to get in the color debate. I think this has been debated a lot. But yeah, we focus on green because we believe starting the decarbonization right now and focusing on those innovative technologies can really help us decarbonize in the long term.
Yeah, and I can imagine that especially in that green side, that is where this vertical integration of the entire value chain is so important. And I'd love to hear a bit more about that. Like, what are the advantages of looking at these problems in a integrated manner? Because that is, to me, the #1 trend I'm seeing here at the fair this year. It's integration, whether it be an integrated product with the control system and whatnot, but also integration on a larger scale. You know, companies working together in the full value chain. So what are some of the advantages that you are seeing, why you think it's so important to do this?
Yeah. So I think from the beginning, when we started off, we looked at a lot of different hydrogen projects because we wanted to invest in them. We wanted to be an investor. And what we found is that a lot of them, they really focus on one step in the supply chain, on the value chain. So they want to produce hydrogen. But for what purpose? So this but for what purpose is really the question we're asking. Because if you only look at the first step, you have PV plant and you produce hydrogen, what are you going to do with it? You have to have someone that takes it off, and then there comes the whole problem of the financeability, because you can't find an off-taker directly, etc. So what we said is, #1 is like, what is the product you want to produce, and what is the value chain that links to that? So really trying to go all the way down to the end product and looking how much can you decarbonize the end product with the hydrogen upstream. So when you do that, for example, let's look at the fertilizer value chain, yeah? It's hard-to-abate industry as well. Fertilizer, we know, uses a lot of natural gas. If you want to decarbonize that using green hydrogen. Relatively simple, because you can just switch the natural gas to the hydrogen. If I was, for example, selling hydrogen only, I would sell that to a fertilizer producer. But the fertilizer producer would then say, oh, okay, you're selling me the hydrogen. I want that guarantee. I want that. What is the price risk that you're taking, etc. So I would price all of that in, selling that to the fertilizer producer. Fertilizer producer will say, well, sorry, but that's far too expensive. Yeah, you're pricing in all your risk, and I'm paying for it. Not interested. I want to have someone else paying for it. And so you get in this whole discussion around, like, in every stage in the value chain, I'm pricing in the risk I take, and therefore my product is more expensive. And if you do that every point in the value chain, you come at the end at the premium, green premium of the end product. So for example, a low carbon fertilizer that is far too expensive. And so what we're saying is we need to find an approach where we can bring all those actors together, build a company that is producing, for example, low carbon fertilizer, but has all the different bricks integrated in one business model. Yeah? And if you do that, all of a sudden you don't price in the risk of each step. So your end product premium is cheaper, which is an upside. Yeah? And all the parties work together in order to share the risks and also the benefits. So if I'm, for example, this famous hydrogen producer in the beginning, I'm now investing in a company jointly together. I'm sure that my hydrogen will be taken off because there's an off-taker that knows now what is the risk we're taking together. And therefore, the business model is more viable than it was before.
All right, and you already mentioned here, you invest in a company. So when we're talking about integrated value chain approach, it's not just different companies coming together and saying, okay, I promise I will buy this much from you, I promise I will buy this much from you. It's really these different companies coming together and investing into a new company that is going to be doing everything, basically.
And if you do that, what is interesting, all of a sudden, for example, looking at the fertilizer value chain, we're just building that right now. Can't announce it yet, but what is interesting there, if you have someone, a food company, for example, let's say, I'm making something up, Uniper, for example, they're buying food products that have hydrogen in it, fertilizer in it, usually, normally, but they pay, in the end, the carbon price of it, because they're having that as their Scope 3 emissions. So they want to get rid of that. But in order to buy green fertilizer, for them, at the end, it's far too expensive, because we price in the risk for everyone. So they're saying now, no, we move upstream in the value chain, and we co-invest in one company to make sure that we're getting access to the product, but that we also know that the premium is the lowest because we know the business case. And that's really disruptive, because if you do that...
And it makes sense, I think.
Yeah,
it definitely makes sense. And so you already mentioned the fertilizer case. Is there another example you can give us of such a company that integrates this full value chain?
Yeah. So this is something I can announce already. We have announced that company. It's called Gravity. So it's a new steel company that follows exactly that approach. So we've brought together the different stakeholders across the value chain that co-invested in one vehicle, which is Gravity. That's a new company, green steel company. And the goal here is to decarbonize, let's say, the iron process, which emits 80% of the steel production. And what we do there is we, let's say, the scope of the company is we have the hydrogen production plus the DRI part, so reducing the iron, in order to have then the next process going to the electric arc furnace companies. So we're kind of going away from the blast furnace. Let's say typical blast furnace that emits really a lot. We decarbonize the iron somewhere else and ship it then to a steel producer via HBI or other products to decarbonize in an electric arc furnace. And then we really followed exactly that process. We brought together all the actors across the value chain, co-invested, and now building a company together. We have, for example, Forvia, which is an off-taker, in the consortium co-investing together in that project, and then off-taking it also in the end.
Wonderful. And I'd love to get a bit more into the specifics of this, because it intrigues me to see the list of investors into this company. And there's, for instance, an electrolyzer company getting in there, a Plug Power. And if I understand correctly, they are really investing in the value chain. And that does not necessarily mean that it's their electrolyzer that's going to be used. It just means they want to develop this value chain and learn a lot from it. But it's quite a risk they're taking, I can imagine.
I think they're creating the market themselves. So I think, like you said correctly, they're learning, let's say, in that process. So they learn about the applications of their electrolyzers in the end. And they usually have, let's say, insights in the business case and the right of first offer. So it makes sense for them also to do it. But it's true, it's risky because they don't know if they'll be chosen by the CEO of the company.
intriguing to me. It really is, and I think it's a great way to get rid of those insecurities that you're always dealing with, especially when you talk about that green premium you already mentioned, right? When you're talking about hydrogen, it's already difficult to get your case closed, but green hydrogen especially, it's going to be expensive otherwise.
Yeah, and what we try not to talk about is the price of green hydrogen, because it doesn't matter if you look at the price of the end product. Exactly. And often it's diluted in the end product. So yeah.
It's just one intermediate step. Yeah, with that, I'd like to open up to the audience. Maybe there are some questions about the steel plant or about anything else. Please do raise your hand if you have a question. If you have one later, feel free to raise your hand.
There is a question.
Oh, there is one. Yeah. Where? Oh, here. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Denis, and I have a small question. Do you cooperate with other accelerators in Europe?
With other what, sorry?
Hydrogen accelerators in Europe or incubators?
So currently, we thank you for that question. So we collaborate with other venture arms, so be it corporate or also private equity. But no, we don't cooperate with other acceleration centers. Thank you.
Okay. If you still have a question, raise your hand. I'm going to continue with my question. You make it sound easy building a company here, right? You're bringing together all these different industry partners into one company, but I can imagine you're running into many, many challenges. It must be super complex. So can you tell us something about these challenges? What is it you're running into?
Yeah, so it's challenging. It's really challenging. But I think you have the challenges from the start. So like now, for example, in the Gravity case, we have 6 shareholders that we aligned. So that's a lot for a seed round. So it's really a lot. But if you manage to do that, all of a sudden you have all the actors in the value chain. You have a lot of knowledge because they're all in the board. So you have a lot of knowledge present. And you have also strategic partners that will also follow on in the follow-up investments. So it's worthwhile, we believe, to do that heavy work of aligning everyone, etc., from the start to have the benefits later on.
I can imagine. Yeah, walking around here, I think all the companies it's sort of a must-do, right? Building your company, and they're glad once it's done, but you guys keep doing it over and over and over. All right. Well, Carina, thank you so much for the talk. I really had a great time. I learned a lot. I hope you also learned a lot. If you still do have questions, I'm sure you can answer them at the booth. It's E141, pretty much all the way in the corner over there.
Can I just say something else?
Of course, yeah.
So if there's people out there that would need to have help on the acceleration services, we're also collaborating with the European Commission on the European Clean Hydrogen Alliance pipeline. So if you need help on accelerating your projects and you're interested to have a matchmaking for investors, come see us and we can support you there.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.